All right, let's talk about it all. Shrek, I did not hear about Joe Rogan's stupid take on Fury versus Wilder 3. Please enlighten me. I have seen that clip go around so much on YouTube. We're going to get into so much news. I can't believe, guys, we have a unbelievable amount of news. Rogan Wait. Rogan thinks Fury won due to corruption. What do you mean by corruption? Like cheating? Like they're like how? What's going on, man? Like, that is one of the most bizarre statements I've ever heard. Like, I will say this about Joe Rogan, okay? Rogan, Dana, what's going on? Joe Rogan is a great commentator for UFC. He's super tapped in. He knows all these guys. He knows their backstories. He knows what's going on. Joe Rogan is a fucking moron when it comes to boxing. I've seen him have on Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, Tyson Fury. I mean, countless. Andy Ruiz, Dillian White, Andre Ward. I mean, he's had on a lot of boxers. And when he talks about boxing, it's very clear it's not his first sport. And I don't want to disrespect him and say he doesn't know anything about boxing, because Joe Rogan knows a thing or two. He knows a lot more classic boxing, but he's clueless. Like, he is somewhat clueless on modern boxing. And I don't say that, I don't try to be too disrespectful, because, although Joe Rogan and I have not agreed on many things, I just, that's a bad take. That's a terrible take. That's a really bad take. To say Fury won by corruption, that's horrendously bad. And shame on him for saying that. I've seen that everywhere too. I've seen that clip quite a bit, and I just haven't clicked on it because I'm like, I don't really care. He had on Terrence Crawford. My favorite thing, like, this is how you know, like, Joe Rogan doesn't know about boxing. He had on Terrence Crawford, and he was talking about Terrence Crawford and how much he loves Terrence Crawford. And it was kind of like a good promotional piece for Terrence, because Bud doesn't get a lot of, like, great press. He doesn't do a lot of press. And it was one of the things where Bud goes, Joe, I'm a Hall of Famer no matter what I do. I'm already a Hall of Famer. I don't have to fight Spence. And Joe Rogan looked at him with big saucer eyes and was like, oh, wow. And I'm just like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Your resume is weak as fuck. But anyways, it's just like Joe Rogan is a casual to boxing the same way I'm a casual to MMA. So I can't be like that guy where I'm like, oh, he doesn't know anything about boxing. I don't know that much about MMA. I'm a casual when it comes to MMA. He is a casual when it comes to boxing. That's just the way it is. People are pissed Wilder's still ranked number 1 in the WBC. Rogan was talking about the slow count by the ref when Fury was knocking him down the 4th round. Are we really back to that? Slow counts? Are we really back to that? Oh, God. Tyson Fury, and Devin, I appreciate what you're saying here, where you're like, you don't like Tyson Fury, but you can appreciate the fact that he won fair and square. This was not a 50-50 fight in the end. This was a one guy won, one guy lost. And it was fairly down the middle in terms of like exactly how the ref was. I didn't see any like foul play. it was, now Tyson Fury's going to do the lean on you. I get that. It's not the cleanest thing, but Jesus, man. It's like, give me a break. By the way, I am over that Wilder Fury everything. I'm done. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Like, if people don't want to, like, come to reality and deal with the fact that Tyson Fury won both of the last fights, that's on them. I'm done with them. I don't care. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because we have some great news. We have some awesome news today to talk about. So let's talk about a little bit of it. Let's talk about first. Oh, yeah. We're going to start off with the lightest weight class and go to the heaviest. So if you have something to say about a certain weight class, remember, I'm going from the lightest to the heaviest. T.O. and Devin Haney get into it. Trash talk, everything like that. Now, I thought this was one of the best takes I've heard about this whole situation. And that was coming from Boxing Rant. You guys know I like those guys. They're pretty straight shooters, and they make me laugh. They said, it's not a real kind of face-off or kind of war of words if your dad's standing next to you. Like, if your daddy is standing next to you, it's really not trash talk to a certain degree. Which I thought was pretty funny, because I couldn't imagine. And I put myself in one of their situations, like if I was Devin or if I was T.O., and I'm thinking about talking trash to someone, and my dad's standing next to me. I just can't do it. Like it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing when you thought about like old school trash talk. Your daddy's standing next to you. So, you know, like, this fight's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, Devin, to your point. Like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen at lightweight. It might happen at 140 if we're lucky. Probably more likely at 147 when both guys want to move up in weight class. This is not going to happen. Oh, Dana, we're gonna talk a little bit about all that stuff. That's next on the plate, actually. I should have probably put that first. Okay. I think we're all pretty excited about this. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited about this. Yeah, it's been officially announced. This is happening. And I just hope Rolly picked out a really nice coffin. Like, I hope his casket is really well done, mahogany wood with satin. Cause he's gonna die. Like, he has, if anyone has watched me enough, you know that I don't like to say someone has no chance. For instance, Martin versus Mikey Garcia. I said he had a 5 to 10% chance during the live stream when someone asked me what his likelihood of winning were. I don't usually say no, someone has 0% chance. I try to be a little bit realistic. I said the Martin versus Garcia, I was like, maybe 5%. I'd maybe give him 10% at max, right? Because no one knows this guy that much. Rolly, I give a 1% chance of beating Tank Davis. I hope he picked out a nice coffin, because Tank Davis is going to hit him with an uppercut that not just absolutely rocks him, it's going to affect generations of his children and his children's children. Like, that's the kind of... he's going to permanently affect Rolly's DNA permanently. His genes are going to be altered for generations because of this fight. My goodness. And I will say this about Rolly, as much as I don't like him. I see people say, oh, well, he's a hard puncher. No, he's not. He doesn't hit that hard. And he's just sloppy, and he's wild with his shots, and he's just not a good boxer. It being pay-per-view, I don't love. They're not going to get a lot of buys. But Rolly, for his one credit, the one thing I will say, and say, nicely about Rolly, is that the dude can sell a fight. He can sell a fight. Tank's pretty good, but Rolly, oh my goodness. KO the DNA of him. Yeah, exactly. 80s white vampire, exactly. I mean, he's really piss poor when it comes to technique. So, I don't like to say that, but I give him 1%. Give him 1%. Oh, we're going to talk about JoJo and Haney. We're getting there. So, Mikey hasn't been the same since the Spence fight. It's been more than that. Mikey just isn't in love with boxing. And we'll get there. We'll get there. I have a whole thing. We'll get there. So I'm doing the easy kind of stuff really quick off the bat. Let's stick away, right around the same weight class. Let's stick with Ryan Garcia. So Ryan Garcia was supposed to fight JoJo. Then he had hand surgery because he broke his hand. Now, he said he did it during sparring. I don't know how much I believe that. Because the one problem with Ryan Garcia is he likes to do this little YouTube thing where he gets his buddies in full protective gear, like the padding kind of for sparring stuff, and just hit his hand against their stomach and all this stuff. Ha 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 ha. And he hits it really hard. If you want to get a good reference, watch him hit Francis Ngannou. It's he's putting all his effort into this. So, did he break his hand that way? I don't know. But I will say this. Him breaking his hand, this has been an extremely bad year for Ryan Garcia. No hate to the kid, because after the Campbell fight, I was up to here with him. I'm wow. He has changed. He's done some things. He's adapted. Good for him. I thought Campbell was going to beat Ryan Garcia. I was wrong. He had clearly shown he had learned, and he had started progressing with Eddie Reynoso as his coach compared to his dad. That's big. That's huge. But then he had the mental hiatus. It's hard to kind of come on a guy and be hard about that. I'm okay, he has anxiety. I've heard through the grapevines from people that have interviewed him in person. And this isn't a friend, is I've heard legit sources that have talked to Ryan Garcia in person and interviewed him that he does have a very nervous kind of personality. He does seem kind of anxious. He does seem kind of just a person that might have a little bit of anxiety. So I'm not going to say anything about that because I've heard from legit sources that could be a real thing for him. And this is tough. Being this young, having this many eyes on you, all this stuff, I couldn't imagine it. So I'm not going to fault him there. Breaking your hand in sparring, what the fuck is that? That's where I get a little bit more what the hell's going on? And so I don't love that. But we do have a general timeline for him. Bill Haney, cough, cough. Yeah, exactly. We do have a general timeline for him, which I think is good. This is a good sign because his hand surgery was successful. And I think that's a positive sign moving forward, which let's try to keep it somewhat positive. And that is, he's talking about early 2022, meaning everything went fairly well. He has a general time frame from doctors and everything else. But this leaves a huge gap for Devin Haney and JoJo. And you better believe that Eddie Hearn swooped right in to just absolutely get that deal done. Because JoJo is beatable. He's not impossible. He doesn't have Eddie Reynoso in his freaking corner or Canelo coaching him. He's beatable. He's beatable. So the big thing with these fights, right, was that JoJo got offered $1.5 million from Golden Boy to fight Ryan. So that was a big hang up for this whole deal. Eddie came out and said, we just offered JoJo the exact same amount. There's no reason for JoJo not to fight Devin Haney. He's making the exact same amount. If anything, he has a big plus side. Because if he beats Devin Haney, he gets the WBC belt. Better than interim. So there's actually bigger upside to fight Devin Haney, in my opinion. He's already the mandatory. He probably should do it anyways. You know. I think that's smart. Yeah, let him have the winner of Haney versus, Jojo Diaz. That's solid. Good take, Shrek. Ryan doesn't love boxing or like boxing. It's like a way to make millions for him. I mean, there's a whole conversation there, absolutely, about him, talking about or being passionate about boxing. I feel like he is more in the line of someone that has spurts. You know what I'm saying, Dana? It's more like, I don't think he's like hot, cold, purely. I think he has spurts where, the Campbell fight got him amped up. Got him super amped up for that fight. Then he won that fight. And he had all this momentum going forward. And I think that is something that's like, imagine, just put yourself in his shoes, right? You just beat Campbell, beautiful body shot. You came from getting off the canvas. People that were doubting you are now praising you. That was a massive deal for him, and good for him. Like, good for him. He did a good job. So I think in those high moments, Ryan Garcia, when he gets up for big fights, is all about boxing. Because I think he has Canelo and Reynoso and people around him that are like, yeah, let's get ready for the big fight. But when he doesn't have a big fight on the horizon, I think he wants to just be Jake Paul. And I think Jake Paul wants to be him. That's the truth. I think Ryan Garcia wants to be a YouTuber. I think he wants to be an influencer. I think he wants to be a model. I think he wants to do everything but boxing. When he doesn't have something on the horizon that's right in front of him, that's like get ready, it's coming towards you kind of thing, I think he wants to be a everything but a boxer. Which is tough to be in this industry, to have a 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It never works well. If you want any examples, just go look at Gary Russell Jr. Go look at the Smith brothers. Callum Smith talks about not loving boxing all the time. Like, you can't be half in, half out at this point in boxing. The way this weight classes, this lightweight division is, with Lomachenko, Tio, Devin Haney, Tank, you can't be half in, half out. You got to be all the way in or fucking figure something out. Do something else. Because Lomachenko is looking for guys like this to eat alive. While Loma's fishing, if you don't follow Loma on social, by the way, he's fantastic follow on social. Half his photos are him boxing. The other half are him literally in a kayak or off the dock fishing. That's what he does. He either fishes or he's boxing. It's one of the two. That's all he does. That's all that man does. And you look at guys like Ryan and Tio and you guys like everyone else in that kind of group, and you're just going, what are you doing? Tio's posting shit on his Instagram and on his Twitter that looks like it should be stitched on a pillow and sold at Home Goods to Karens. Live life, love life, good life. Like, it's just like the most garbage crap ever that Tio's posting right now. And everyone's making fun of him. Like, when are you fighting again? No one gives crap at all about that stuff. You know, like, you know, it's just like, it's one of the most, like, crazy things. And people are just like, Tio, we don't care about your, like, you know, general life advice. We don't care about the stuff that, like, are stitched on pillows for, like, you know, 50-year-old moms. Tell us something that we care about, like, when are you fighting next? Thankfully, it's on the 27th of November. So it's just like, some people do better than others. I love that Loma's just like fish or boxing. That's it. That's his two speeds. That's all he's doing. Anyways, so Ryan, hopefully he recovers quickly. Let's get him in the ring again, please. Please, can we get him in the ring again? Let's move up a weight class. You know, let's start talking about some other people. Because if I keep talking about these people, all right, this guy we saw just in this last fight. This kid has very little tactics and is very rough around the edges. He's Australian. Jarvis, I think his last name is. He is gonna be on the Tio versus Kambosos fight in a month from now. Okay, it's the 20th. He just fought last weekend. This dude got absolutely buzzed during that fight and got hit a lot. And I mean a ton. The fact he's fighting in about a month is a little scary. Yeah, Garcia and Martin card. Yeah, that's what he literally was in. You can tell from the background where it was at like a little baseball stadium. He just fought last weekend. And he's fighting in about a little bit more than a month from now. And he absolutely ate a billion shots. Like, oh my God. This is bad news. This is how you hurt fighters. So let's see how that turns out. That was just a quick little, when I saw that, I was just like, oh my God. Couple things to mention now. Let's talk about Mikey Garcia. Let's get into Mikey Garcia. Actually, before we get to Mikey, let's get to Ugas. We'll do Ugas. Ugas real quick. This is a good thing for Ugas. Initially, they were going to have a 4 different champion tournament to figure out who's the WBA champion. Ugas went absolutely ballistic. And I mean ballistic. Obviously, Earl Spence is not in the picture right now with his eye injury. Crawford's probably not going to be included in that 4-man. It was going to be like Victor Ortiz. It could have been Boots. I mean, there could have been a bunch of wild cards in there for him. Now they have said, oh, the WBA is like, okay, well, we'll just give you this. Just do this. Oh, God, the WBA is such a mess. They must have heard him. Exactly, Shrek. Exactly. Just stay busy. Like, just chill out. He got really mad on social media. Okay, now let's talk about Mikey. So what's interesting is I'm guessing there was some kind of contract in the works for Pro Grace versus Mikey Garcia. And that's no longer going to happen, which sucks because that could have been a cool fight. That could have been a really cool fight. Mikey did not look good at all. He looked like garbage. And I tweeted that he got schooled by Martine. And I had people fight me on Twitter. They're like, no, that's not true at all. This guy was running, yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, you mean the guy that didn't get hit but hit Mikey? That's boxing. He got outclassed. Mikey got plain and simple outclassed. That's the real deal. Which is super sad because I like Mikey Garcia a lot. He's a really fun boxer to watch back in the day. And when he was serious, he was really good. This is a classic case of not being active. Not being active, not worrying about fighting, being more of a businessman. Martine's got a shit ton of new fans, not just you, Shrek. I mean, good for him. He seized that moment and he did a great job. He's not the best fighter in the world, but shit, I mean, he's serious about boxing. You know? Like, he's serious about boxing. So, you know, whatever. Like, if you don't like him, that's too bad. Like, he still won. He was legit. Now, let's talk about the saddest part about this whole situation. If you're a Mikey Garcia fan, which, you know, I like Mikey. This is the saddest part about this whole situation. There's no rematch clause. Let me say that again. Eddie Hearn, the king of rematch clauses, says there's no rematch clause. Happy, what's going on, brother? There's no rematch clause. Eddie Hearn puts a rematch clause in everything. And I mean everything. He has put rematch clauses in non-title fights for years. And this goes to show you how much of an easy touch that they thought Mikey was going to have. Oh, Prograis versus Taylor rematch. I want to see Prograis versus Ramirez before that. Winner gets the rematch with Taylor. That's my stipulation. But I do love where your head's at because I do love Regis Prograis. He's a great fighter, but I want to see him and Ramirez square off, winner take all, get the rematch with Taylor. See what I'm saying? How do you not put a rematch clause? And the saddest part about this is like Dana's talking, he looks slow. His reaction time was completely off. No body work. Zero body work, which Mikey's been very good at, generally speaking, against a no-name 140-pound freaking Spanish fighter. Makes no sense. Like, makes no sense. And the saddest part about Mikey, he was a good... I don't like to talk about, like, fighters in the terms of, like, what they mean to casual fighters, but I want to be honest, Mikey's a good casual individual for a lot of casual fight fans. And I think that's a good thing to have those people that can bridge that gap a little bit. That can be someone that doesn't have to be... Not everyone wants to watch Chocolatito versus Estrada, which blows my mind that they don't want to watch that, but they just don't know. They just don't know that Estrada and Chocolatito are fighting for the third time. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be one of the best fights you've ever seen. They don't know that. That's okay. But when Mikey Garcia fights, there's a lot of people that get very excited about it. Chasing is a class. Great take, Dana. I mean, you're chasing someone. Terrible tactics. He's better than that. He's absolutely better than that. So anyways, Mikey from here has a lot of very, very strategic moments he's got to pick out. If I'm him, I'm looking and I'm throwing, and I should say, if I'm Eddie Hearn, I'm throwing stupid money at Martine and saying, let's do a rematch. And if I'm Mikey, I'm thinking, my brother and I have to go to work. We got to go to work. We got to figure this out because this is bad. This is really bad. Okay, let's move up. Let's move up to some of the bigger weights. Let's start at 160. And boy, was I wrong. So wrong about this. Chris Eubank Jr. fought recently. He looks so bad. He looks so bad. Last Friday, during the stream, I was being a little bit gracious with him and talking about, oh, you know, he could be interesting, yada, 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 all this stuff. He did not look good at all that weekend. And now, you know, Froch talking about he should fight Saunders. And or Liam Williams. Liam Williams is just leftovers from freaking Boo Boo. I mean, this is just, he looked bad. And Saunders would be a good fight for him in the UK. He could make some good money. Liam Williams, to even mention Liam Williams, I mean, that's bad. That's really bad. Almost as bad as Boo Boo fighting Jason Quigley, but still, it's just kind of like goes to show where Eubanks Jr. was. There was talks about him fighting Triple G. Like, hey, he wants Triple G. He wants Canelo. He wants Charlo. He wants to fight some of these guys. And now, after 2 fights, since he's been kind of back with Roy Jones Jr. as his coach, they're talking about Saunders and Liam Williams. He's UK level. He's never going to go beyond it. It's just the way it is. Sorry, it's true. That's bad. That's real bad. To go from that kind of tippy top elite talk to just way down. Let's talk about Canelo really quick. Some good news. The undercard was announced. Now, there was Jarrell that was announced. There wasn't much there, but there's one individual I'm interested in, and that is Elvis Rodriguez. If you haven't watched him before, just Google him. Go watch him on YouTube. He was looking like the brightest star that you could absolutely see in boxing. He looked phenomenal. He looked really good. Big kid, hits hard, moves well. Until his last fight. Until he ran into a fighter that did absolutely nothing but pressure and outworked him. And he lost. And I was shocked. I thought this kid could be something special. You know, we all get fooled sometimes, but it was a very eye-opening moment. Maybe he makes adjustments. Remind you, guys, he has Freddie Roach as his coach. The man that took Manny Pacquiao from nothing to everything. He has Freddie Roach as his coach. So, not all hope is lost, but I'm very curious to see how he rebounds. If they give him a really soft touch, if they give him something that's a little bit more interesting. Oh man, I know. They cut him real quick. They cut that kid real quick. And I was just like, wow. It's brutal. It's brutal to see. Eddie's long October. Eddie's had a brutal October. So kind of interesting there. Kind of interested in seeing what's going on. Okay, let's get to some fun news. Because now we're basically... Oh, I forgot one other thing really quick. While we're talking about stuff that's kind of recent. Berlanga looked like shit in his fight. And apparently he's having bicep surgery on Wednesday. Whether or not that's the reason he kind of looked garbage or not, the kid's not complete. He's not complete. He is not complete. He did not look good. And this is troubling for Top Rank because he was supposed to be like this mini Mike Tyson, you know? He was supposed to be this kid that knocks out everybody. And he fights a guy that Billy Joe Saunders knocked out in 6 rounds and he went the distance with. Just putting that out there. So, okay, fun stuff, fun facts and stuff like that moving forward. A mini Mike Tyson. I mean, Tank Davis is kind of a mini Mike Tyson right now. He's kind of knocking out everyone, doing a good job. He's the closest person that I would say like we got. In a way. Inoue's kind of a mini Mike Tyson. Inoue's a Japanese Mike Tyson. Ironically enough. Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson in Japan, and ironically enough, Inoue just comes from there. I have to throw it on. I had to throw this. I had to throw this on there. You know. Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, it's happening. So my channel will see another 30,000 people on Twitch all begging for links. And at least I know when it's going to happen. It's going to be December 18th. Holy crap. Oh, Boots. I love Boots is my favorite. Boots is my favorite prospect right now. Oh, man. I mean, oh, Shrek, don't worry. I'm just going to be like Thor's hammer, just stomping people out on Discord. This is a somewhat funny fight. You know, I think the hype for this, you know, who do you have for Fury Wilder? I mean, that already happened. Are you talking about like where they go from there, or are you talking about like what happened? Who did I have? I had Fury winning. John Fury. Oh man, I didn't see that. Well, I should say I haven't watched it. I saw that happened. Yes, I had Fury winning. Fury's too big, too strong. Wilder, I did. By the way, if you haven't checked out my YouTube channel, check it out. I have all my like predictions, everything I talk about. If you want to know like what I really think, deep dive and all that stuff, it's all there. You know, throw that in chat. For instance, we have Shakur Stevenson versus Jamel Herring. I did a, I think, decent video on that matchup. Who will win? Paul versus Fury. It's interesting. I think this is almost a 50-50 fight. I think this is almost a 50-50 fight, and I'll tell you why. Tommy Fury's been fighting at 175, and he's been fighting bin men. He's been fighting trash. Nothing but trash. His collective background of the fighters he's fought is something like 9 wins and 150 losses or something. It's ridiculous. Tommy hasn't fought a real fighter in his entire career. Now, Jake hasn't fought a real fighter, obviously, in his career. I mean, Tyrone Woodley was the best thing he ever fought. That was remotely close. So, it's kind of interesting in that sense, because it's kind of like neither one of them have faced real boxers. Anyone, I see this all the time. People be like, well, Tommy Fury's at least faced real boxers. No, he hasn't. If anyone tells you Tommy Fury has faced any real boxers, go show them the box rec. Oh, I'll do it right now. Let's go look at box rec. I love doing this. This is one of my favorite things to do for people that just don't know. Okay, let's go look at Tommy Fury on BoxRec. And if you show people this kind of stuff, they might not be so, apt to say, okay, let's take a quick peek, to take a quick peek at Tommy here, okay? Let's get some real good looks. Okay, so he's 7-0 with 4 KOs, right? Okay, let's go down. He's ranked 261 in the world. He's 20th in the UK alone. Just putting that out there. Let's look at some of these amazing fighters he's fought, okay? First of all, he's only fought 4 rounds. He had 1 6-rounder. He had 1 6-rounder. I apologize. He had 1 6-rounder. Everything's been 4-rounders. Jake Paul has basically done the same. Let's take a quick peek at this guy's resume. Oh, he's had 10 wins and 113 losses. Wow. That's an amazing resume. I don't even know how you get a resume like that. Like, I don't know how you have that as a resume. Like, that's impressive. Okay, let's see the next guy. Well, Tom, 0-30. 0-30. He has a 0% KO percentage. He's been knocked out 4 times. 0-30. Okay, let's go to the next. 2-29. I mean, 2-29. Okay, let's go to the next guy. So total, by the way, we have one guy who has 10 wins, right? At least this one guy from Latvia has 10 wins. This is the most wins any of his opponents have faced. This guy had 0. This guy had 2. We have 12 wins total against all of his fear. 0-20. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see Tommy's. This is his resume. Okay, let's see who. 0-20. Okay, let's go to the next guy. Let's see the next guy. 3-1. The first guy with a winning record. And let's go to the last one. This was a big step up. 1-2. So, when anyone tells you that Tommy Fury has fought at least legit real boxers, laugh in their face. Tommy Fury has fought nothing but people that do not care about boxing, that are not about boxing, have no interest in boxing, and honestly, most of them don't have winning records or even close. These are Tyler. These are Tommy Fury's opponents. I'll show you real quick again. All of these guys I just showed, they are all Tommy Fury's. So when you look at some of these guys that have a 10-13, 113 record, and you look at the next guy and it's 0-30. Next guy. This is the beauty of BoxRec. There's no BS. 2-29. I mean, this is just garbage. This is a terrible resume. I mean, so when people are like, Jake Paul has no chance, right? Jake Paul has no chance against Tommy Fury. The collective wins of Tommy Fury's opponents out of 7 fights is less than 20. Is less than 20, and the amount of losses by Tommy Fury's opponents. I mean, 113, 20, 30, 20 again. I mean, we're talking 160 plus fights loss. Almost. It's bad. We'll talk about that. That's next. So these are the fun fights. We're going to heavyweight right now. We're doing by weight class. So this is a 50-50 fight. And I'm not even a Jake Paul fan. I don't like Jake Paul all that much. I think he's done a decent job for promoting boxing in general. But my God, the amount of people, especially, I don't want to pick on the UK, but the UK fans in particular say, Tommy Fury is a real boxer. Jake Paul hasn't fought anyone real. I mean, Jake Paul fought a UFC champion, 2 UFC champions. Tommy Fury's never fought a champion of anything. So I'm just pointing it out there. I'm just saying, because it drives me crazy. I get asked about it all the time during live streams. And it's just mind-blowing to me that people are absolutely on board saying that, like, Tommy Fury is legit, but Jake Paul isn't. I disagree with you. Okay. Babak versus Molina. Now we're in heavyweight. This is a sad fight for me. Eric Molina, if you don't know Eric Molina is a school teacher in Texas that teaches kids with disabilities. That's what his job is. That's his day job. Okay? So boxing isn't really his like full-time job. And now he's become a punching bag for a lot of guys that are trying to make a name for themselves in the heavyweight division. It's really sad. So I'm disappointed in this fight, but you know. Why is he fighting? Because he makes a decent paycheck, because, you know, teachers don't make good pay. Here's $20K to lose. You know. That's the deal. So next, in the heavyweight division, this made me laugh so hard. Don't worry, we're going to get to the main event. It's very close. Frank Warren favors Joe Joyce to defeat Alexander Usyk. Now, Frank, I don't know what Frank is smoking or what drugs he's on, but I would love to know so I can have them myself or try them myself, because you have to be absolutely high to think Joe Joyce can beat Alexander Usyk. I know, he already beat him once. And this Usyk is better than the 2012 version of Usyk. So Frank Warren being Frank Warren, being a complete shill for his fighters, this is one of the most garbage takes I've seen so far this week. That is the garbage take for, you know what? Hold on. That is the garbage take for the week. I need to have some kind of like special effects. Next time I'll have it. Some special thing. Garbage take of the week. You win, Frank, with the worst take of the week. That's terrible. Okay. We're going to talk really quick about Dillian Whyte. We're going to then talk about AJ. There's some huge news about AJ. I don't know if you guys heard about this stuff. AJ is in the US and it's a big deal. But let's talk about Whyte. Let's get this kind of figured out. Okay? It's a huge deal with AJ. It's very obvious what's going on there. New trainer, that's what's rumored. I'm going to break it all down. I got all the receipts. So this fight is rumored to be completely off. Allegedly, Dillian Whyte has injured his shoulder. WALLIN has been a true gentleman and said that the right thing for him to do next is to wait for a fight that will suit Dillian Whyte based off of his injury. This was a very interesting fight. I had Dillian Whyte, if you ask me, I had Dillian Whyte winning, but Otto Wallin makes things interesting. You just don't know with this kid. He just hasn't fought a ton of top level guys, but he's shown enough that he could be kind of interesting. That said, I do have hope. There is hope, Shrek. And this is something that no one is reporting. This is why you guys come here, because I give you guys the real news. This is what people don't tell you. Because I do the digging. I do all this digging. And I found that it's not off. It's not off. And officially, no one from Matchroom has actually told Otto Wallin this fight is off. It has not been told to the opponent, Otto Wallin, that this fight is off. If Matchroom hasn't said anything to him officially yet, this comes from today when everyone announced that this fight was off. If Otto Wallin has not heard anything from Matchroom, it doesn't mean it's technically off yet. But it's not looking great. It's not looking great. I don't care. I mean, box wreck. So, this fight could still happen technically. Would I put my money on it? Not so much right now. Because my sources are saying that, yeah, it's off. I think it's probably safe to say it's off, but there's a slight bit of hope. Slight bit. Okay, last thing. Let's talk about AJ. This was kind of interesting news to me. And it comes from multiple sources and photos and everything else. And that's AJ is shopping around right now. And I have a great quote from AJ. And this is, if you're from the UK or Europe, this is going to really annoy you. And that's, AJ said, US trainers are different. And that they train different, that US fighters are different, and kind of implemented that, I don't want to say better, but like they're just, everything is different. And that a lot of people are talking about the fact that McCracken basically trained AJ similar to his own fighting style, and that the UK fighting style is a more fundamental base. And so now there is talks of Virgil Hunter. Now they're talking about Eddie Reynoso. I mean, he's Mexican, but Mexico is part of America, like North America, South America, like it's part of the American continent. So we'll put it that way. Now, what makes it even more interesting is not only was it just that, I feel like that should be fair, right? Like when I talk about America or American, like Mexico should be kind of lumped in there because they're part of North America. Because otherwise it's kind of like braggadocious to say like we have the pound for pound best in America. We don't. We know. No, that's he's from Mexico. And that's just me being real. So there's this whole thing now. Can Eddie Reynoso save Anthony Joshua's career? Right? And so people are having wild discussions about this on Twitter. Tons of discussions. And then it just goes a step further, and it goes even deeper into, could Ronnie Shields help him? I mean, we're talking, those are 3 different trainers. And then it went even further. AJ visited Robert Garcia. So that's 4 trainers. That's Shields, that's Reynoso, that's Hunter, and that's Garcia. That's 4 different American trainers. Now, if you want my opinion about it, I'll give you my opinion. But I'm curious what you guys think. Is this a good change for AJ? Should he change trainers? McCracken, clearly, if you watch the fight back, was saying beautiful boxing in the corner. Beautiful boxing, and it wasn't beautiful boxing. He was getting schooled. Clearly, the game plan was not good. I've had my own opinion. Yet again, I'll plug my YouTube. If you want to see my opinion on what AJ should do, I have a whole YouTube video where I break down exactly what I think AJ should do, which he could do, and he could win the rematch if he did what I think he should do. Malik Scott. I mean, to your point, many champions, Lennox Lewis, Klitschko, all went to, Emmanuel Stewart. He really changed them. And mind you, to your credit, with that kind of comment, they didn't win right off the bat with him either. They lost. And then they eventually became very successful with him. Now, some people also point out Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury went from Ben Davidson to Kronkamp. Big difference, right? Different style. Very different style from Tyson Fury once he went to the U.S. and started fighting with the Kronkamp. Mind you, the camp that also brought you Tommy Hearns and Emmanuel Stewart, obviously founder of. I think Malik Scott did a pretty damn good job with Wilder as well. I have one person that I think that Anthony Joshua needs to go to. And it's none of these people. I heard people saying Abel Sanchez, who trained Triple G. No longer trains Triple G, but did train Triple G. I disagree with that. There's one man, in my opinion, who has the amount of people around him to do it. He's trained heavyweights, a lot of heavyweights, and has found success with some of the best heavyweights in the world. It's not Freddie Roach. And he doesn't have really any active clients right now. He's the one guy, in my opinion, that could change AJ and on top of it, do something that AJ needs more than anything else. Anthony Joshua needs people in his corner that aren't fucking yes men. No more yes men. No more people telling you beautiful boxing when it's not. No more garbage. There's a great video by a guy named Uzuk Boxing. That's spelled U-Z-U-K. Great guy on YouTube. We talk to each other all the time. And he points the fact that Anthony Joshua is throwing a medicine ball against the wall, and then his trainer is picking it up for him. And this guy owns a boxing gym and said, if my fighter ever told me to pick up the medicine ball, I would lose my mind. AJ's been pampered. He has 20 plus people in his camp. It's ridiculous. And there we go. The first person to name him, Teddy Atlas, is the man AJ needs in his corner. Because Teddy isn't going to bullshit you. Teddy has taken multiple heavyweight fighters and brought them to the promised land of winning again. He is going to be real with him. He is going to absolutely tell you what you need to do. He's going to yell at you in your corner. He's not going to tell you did beautiful boxing. He's going to tell you that you did fucking garbage. But the thing I like about Teddy, and if you watch a lot of, by the way, if you don't watch Teddy's corner moments, absolutely go back and Google it, YouTube it, do it. What Teddy does so well is he gives really clear, concise instructions in the corner. It's one of my favorite things. Oh boy. Nothing gets me over more than anything in this world from a trainer that gives good, very concise, simple instructions in the corner. Teddy Atlas amps you up. He tells you what you're doing wrong. He absolutely tells you, you need to do this. And he gives you one simple instruction. You're doing this wrong. You need to do this. Do it. That's it. If you lose, that's on you. But Teddy's going to tell you what you got to do. Oh, yeah, man. See? Good take. Yeah, he had to be real. I mean, the firefighter speech is one of my favorite. Oh, God. But you know what my other favorite is? Oh, I might have to bring it up really quick. Oh, man. This is my favorite. This is my favorite. And this is where you leverage your fighter knowing who they are, what they need at their time, where they're at mentally. Hold on, let me get to that. Oh yeah, we're gonna watch this for sure. Okay. This is fun. This is what I love to watch. This kind of stuff right here. And this is Teddy talking to Alexander Povetkin. And this is after Alexander Povetkin's dad just died, which was his entire world, which absolutely devastated him. Devastated him. And you could tell, like, it affected his boxing. He just could not be effective. So Alex is having issues in this fight where he's fighting for a world title. You can just see that he's just not engaging. Alexander Povetkin is a highly skilled fighter. Of Wilder, then he fractures his hand like that. I know. That's a great point. So Povetkin is just like not in it. Hold on. You guys can hear the audio. Let me switch sources really quick. I'm like sitting here like, why isn't that audio working for you guys? Here we go.
Where do you have it
there you go.
Right now? I've got Shagayev up by 2
I know that X-ray. Like, Eddie's not even speaking, Teddy's not even speaking the same language.
Sometimes we can bring people that left us back. We can bring your father back tonight. You know why? Because they're going to talk about his son, the new world champion.
See this? This is what AJ needs.
They're going to be thinking about his father.
One of the reasons he's been a little inactive, he was, grieving over the loss of his father.
I mean, Povetkin was just absolutely distraught.
Yeah. Povetkin coming alive.
And then he comes back in this fight, man, where he's losing for a heavyweight title.
With 1 minute left.
Couple good body shots there by Povetkin.
I mean, this is a no-joke fight. He's eating shots.
Round 9.
Good rebound round for Povetkin.
Saying they're working on getting Povetkin. We're starting to see that here in these last
Mind you,
rounds.
Povetkin doesn't speak a word of English. So Teddy's using a translator in the corner.
Povetkin throwing some nice combinations along the ropes. Just seems as if Povetkin has discovered something in these last couple of rounds that's given him confidence.
I'll tell you what that is right now, his father. That sparks me up and lights a fire under me.
I mean, look at the difference in Povetkin. Povetkin goes from being just being hit to just unbelievably alive.
Push that motivational button in those middle rounds, and it seems to have really paid off for Povetkin.
Very important. It seems like Shagayev was wanting to do a certain
Teddy
thing,
Atlas,
wanting to
see
land
that?
left hand,
Raise
but
your hands. You just won this
Teddy
fight.
Atlas rushed the center of
That's the
that ring.
corner man that you
Get his
need.
fighter's arms up.
And if you saw that replay of Teddy, he looked up into heaven, looked at Povetkin and said, that one was sure for your father.
Neuer Weltmeister aus dem Sauerland-Team.
And that is when Alexander Povetkin won the heavyweight championship for himself after his father died.
And Povetkin holding the pictures of his dad who recently passed away. And a unanimous decision.
I mean,
Okay, Eric, deep breath now.
let's be real. That is what AJ needs. He needs someone that's going to kick him in the teeth during training and tell him what he needs to do. No more patty cake. No more, you're doing great. You're a great fighter. No. You need someone to say what you need to be said and hear as a fighter. And that's why I love Teddy Atlas for someone like AJ. Because AJ has a lot of skill. Physically, the physical prowess of AJ is phenomenal. I mean, he's built like a Greek god. The man has a lot of physical attributes that he can utilize. The problem is, he's been told everything he's doing is great. Good job. You threw that medicine ball really well, but you never picked it up. Yep. Surround himself with a bunch of yes men. He has a team of over 20 people at his disposal, AJ. No more. No more. Quick, fun story time. I'm going to tell you a quick story time. Teddy Atlas story time. Because I'm all fired up about it. All right. Do you guys know the story of Teddy Atlas taking Mike Tyson to what were called smokers in the Bronx of New York? Anyone aware of this? Anyone heard this story before? If you did, let me know. So smokers were these illegal kind of fights that were happening that were like, literally they call them smokers because they're like doing barbecue indoors kind of thing. And they're having all these kind of fights. And it was your job as the coach to basically match your fighter up with someone. And everybody lied about their fighter. If they said they were 12 years old, they were 15. If they said it was their first fight, they've had 30. If they said they've had a couple fights, they probably had 50. And so you had to go through this situation of kind of trying to negotiate with people and have these conversations with people that weren't being honest with you. And make sure that your fighter's protected. So Teddy wants to take Mike Tyson from the Catskills, where he's training, with Custom Auto in a very, very protected location, and bring him back to New York, where he's originally from. He's from Brownstone area and like real hardcore area in New York, and get him into a smoker fight so he can learn and deal with adversity. So Mike goes into this. Isn't Teddy Atlas and Mike Tyson not on good? Oh. We can talk about that. We'll talk about that really quick. I mean, Mike Tyson and Teddy Atlas, they're okay now, but they had an incident. They had a very famous incident. So Teddy is there, and he's telling all these guys, and Teddy's being honest. He's like, this guy is 12 years old, and it's Mike Tyson. And he was 12 years old. But Mike Tyson was 200 pounds. He was like 5'8", 200 pounds. And all these guys are like, Teddy, you're lying worse than we are. Like, what the hell is this? This is garbage. And Teddy's like, okay. He's 17. He was really 12 years old, but Teddy said he's 17 years old. So Mike Tyson was fighting 7 and 18-year-olds when he's 12, 11 years old at the time in these fights. And that's what helped build Mike Tyson as his confidence and everything else. And that's part of, but Teddy always made sure to make deals. I mean, there's a whole story about this if you listen to his Joe Rogan. If you haven't watched him on Joe Rogan, it was phenomenal. I think it was 3.5 hours. So the story between Mike Tyson and Teddy Atlas. And after this, that's all the boxing news for this week. We will be live on Friday we'll be doing a classic fight night, where we'll be watching some old school boxing. So if you want to see that, make sure to check that out. And then Saturday night, we'll be watching Shakur Stevenson versus Jamel Herring. Obviously, I did a YouTube video on it. I already plugged it once. If you need that kind of link, I'll throw it in there again. But regardless, we'll be live for that. And in the Discord, we'll have it. So this is the classic story between Teddy Atlas and Mike Tyson and why they weren't on good terms for a while. Now, a lot of this is hearsay, a lot of this is so-and-so, but this is the general accepted kind of what happened. So, this was in the Catskills where Teddy was living and Mike was living with Customato and everyone. And Teddy comes home and I believe it was his niece, said to him that Mike had threatened to RAPE her. I'm going to be sensitive about it because of YouTube and everything that I'm streaming on. And Teddy got very upset about this, and because Mike said this apparently to his niece, from what I understand. He grabs a handgun, a .38 handgun, goes in, finds Mike, and puts it up to his head and says, "I'm going to kill you, basically, if you touch her," kind of thing. And Mike was like not having it. Mind you, this is back when Mike was very impressionable. He was like probably 16 at the time, 17 at the time. Maybe a little bit older. I could be wrong about that. Maybe a little bit older. Mike was still kind of coming from a very dark place. His mother and everything was addicted to drugs. Like, he came from a very dark place. Not to excuse what he said, but still, Mike wasn't used to people basically putting him in his place. And Teddy did. And there was a threat there between Teddy and Mike, as in, if I see you again, you're done, kind of thing. So they split paths after that. And there was a moment, actually Teddy talked about this, he said, where he was commentating a fight and someone tapped him on the shoulder and they said, "Excuse me, Teddy, Mike Tyson would like to talk to you." And now this was Mike after he had gone through, I believe this was after prison and everything like that. Different Mike, obviously older Mike. And Teddy said, "Sure." And they saw each other and Mike just simply said, "I'm sorry. I was wrong. Whatever." They made amends. Mike Tyson and Teddy Atlas are now on good terms. But that's the lore. That is the classic lore. I don't know how much I was right. I mean, that's basically everything I've read and heard about all that situation. So that's the fun of all of this boxing stuff when it's older school. There's no internet, there's no videos at the time. It's just lore. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This is classic boxing news night where we get to talk about everything. I think personally AJ is what he is. I don't think anyone can fix him. I don't think he's going to be Usyk. And in the end, doesn't matter if he comes to America to train or if he's anywhere else. I think he's just the fighter that he is. And I think that in the end, he can't beat anyone. But if anyone could train him to be a little bit different, it'd be Teddy Atlas. That's my general perspective on everything. So with that said, hopefully you guys had a good time. We will be doing a quick raid if you are on Twitch. We're going to be, raiding my buddy Happy. And hopefully we'll see you guys on Friday night. So have a good one. And hopefully you join us this weekend because Jamel Herring versus Shakur Stevenson is going to be incredible. It's going to be a fantastic fight.